students, and welcome back to another virtual nature studies lesson from the Central Wisconsin Environmental Station. My name is Emma, and today we're going to be exploring a subject that is really close to my heart. So what I'm going to do is we're going to begin by looking at 3 different parts of different plants, and then I want you to think about what you think we might be able to use those plants for. What would those plants have in common? Alright, so let's get started. These are white pine needles. We've got some acorns. This one is considered a weed, and it likes to grow pretty much everywhere. So this one is the dandelion. Alright, so did you come up with any ideas as to what these plants might have in common? We probably came up with a lot of different ideas, but the one that I was really going for was that these are common and they're edible, which means that we can eat them, or at least we can eat parts of these plants. So for today's lesson, we're going to be talking about how to start foraging, which means collecting or gathering those wild edibles. But before we begin, we need to consider the guidelines for foraging. So every forager has to follow a few simple rules before ever foraging for wild edibles. Thankfully, there's a handy document that will keep us in check. Alright everybody, so this is a document that you should refer to every time you are going out to forage for wild edibles, because this is a guideline. This will really tell you what you should be making sure you're doing before and after you have collected those wild edibles. So up here is the link, and I will post that in the description or the comments below, and you can use this to access this document whenever you want to. So this is called Say Yes to Wild Foraging, and Wilder Child made this. Alright, so there are 10 different guidelines that you should be following, and we're going to go through them really quickly. So the first one is you should always make sure that you have an adult or a mentor with you, because they can help you to make sure that you are actually foraging something that is edible. They can make sure that you are going through the book the right way. Now once you get really good at this, you can start doing it on your own, but at least for the first year or 2, it's best to always have someone with you. The second one is make sure you're getting permission for that area. There are some places where you're not allowed to forage, so you should always be looking up what the guidelines are for those areas that you're going to. The third is you want to make sure that you're correctly identifying that plant before you ever pick it. So you want to be 100% sure that that is actually a dandelion before you're going to actually grab it and put it in a salad and eat it. Number 4 is you should know what parts of the plant are safe to eat, and then you should also know what season to harvest it. So if you're going out in the fall, you probably wouldn't want to be harvesting dandelions, and you should also know how they can be prepared. Number 5, you want to look around and make sure the plant is not growing in a polluted area. If there's lots of trash in or around the soil where this plant is growing, you probably don't want to be eating that plant because it can soak up a lot of those pollutants, and you don't really want to be eating those. Number 6, you want to make sure you're only harvesting what's needed and leaving the rest. So other people want to enjoy the plants and harvesting as well, and if you take all of the plants from an area, sometimes those plants won't come back the next year. So try to only take what you really need and leave the rest. 7, you only want to pick the part of the plant that you're going to use. That really correlates to number 4, knowing which part of the plant is safe to eat. If you know which part you need, then you can only pick that part of the plant. This is a little harder if you're going for something like the roots or the stem, but again, you can only take the parts of the plant that you need if it's, like the leaves or the petals themselves. Number 8, I know whether or not this plant is rare or endangered. So if a plant is rare or endangered, you cannot pick it. It is illegal to remove that plant from the area it was found, but you can still make a note in your journal and say, wow, I found this really cool rare plant that I didn't even know about in this area. And number 9 is making sure you're thanking the plant and the surrounding environment. This is having respect for our environment, and taking a moment to really reflect on how thankful you are that our environment still provides these natural resources. Number 10 is I took notes and observations in my wild foraging journal, writing everything down that you possibly think could be important information in that journal. So that is all I have here. And again, I would say you should try and use this guideline every time you're going out to forage. Where did foraging begin? Well, it goes back to our hunter-gatherer ancestors who lived long, long ago, and they didn't have the means that we have now to have big crops and have lots and lots of domesticated animals like chickens and cows. And so our hunter-gatherer ancestors gathered wild edibles such as rice, flowers, and tubers or roots. Often they would find two rocks and grind them together with the plants between. Today, however, we have something called a mortar and pestle to grind our foods up, or we have an electric grinder as well. So even today, there are people who gather food in this fashion throughout the world. Some cultures still rely on it. However, here in the United States, many people are choosing to start learning the skill of gathering and foraging again because it's really a lot of fun, and it also gives you a sense of pride and ability to go and actually find your own food for yourself. Let's talk about where you can go to start foraging. So to learn this skill, you don't have to go very far. In fact, you can look right outside your own door. That is, if you have a lawn. If you want to begin foraging, there's a few options. So you can go to your backyards, but some of us don't have that luxury. So there are also lots of different parks around you. One of the concerns with foraging in your backyard is that there can be pesticides sprayed on the lawn. It's important that we find places that are not sprayed with pesticides when we want to harvest. Pesticides are absorbed by plants along with water and nutrients, and if we eat those plants, we increase the chance of ingesting pesticides. However, there are many options for places to forage in and around Portage County for those concerned with pesticides in their lawns. So any of the Portage County parks, like Jordan and Lake Emily, are places that you can forage. Generally, we don't spray any pesticides in those areas unless it's around just the campsites for poison ivy reasons. What is the most important thing when you're thinking about going and foraging a wild plant? Do you automatically know what plants are safe to eat and which ones aren't? Not always. So the most important thing is to make sure that you are not incorrectly identifying and foraging a plant. So to do that, you can pick up a whole bunch of different types of plant identification books. I really like this one in particular because inside it has both pictures and it talks about how some things might be used. There's another one right here that's also really cool. Alright, so when it comes to correctly identifying and knowing what to do with the plants when you do find them, this is a really cool resource because not only does it have information about the plant itself, but it also talks about how to prepare them. So I really like this resource and I wanted to share it with you. I'll give you a quick little tutorial as to what it's about. So up here again is going to be the link, and you can see that or try and use that if you want to. Otherwise, I'm going to post it in the description below. And then, as you can see, it's called A Beginner's Guide to Wild Edible Plants in the Grinnell Area. Now, this is in Iowa, but a lot of the plants are still relevant to our area here in Portage County, Wisconsin. So we're going to scroll down. There is a contents area, so it'll tell you kind of what you're looking at, how to use this, when to pick the plants that you're seeing, etc. And if you scroll down a little bit more, you're going to see a little area on page 11 for plant identification. So this talks about how to know what kind of leaves are, so it'll go over if you see this and then what it looks like, and then you can link that to the description of the plant itself. And then it has a glossary of symbols, so it'll tell you if you see this, that means that you can eat the berries. If you see this, then you should probably read the warnings in the description and potentially not eat it. And then a lot of other things you can do with them, like put them in cold water and use them as a tea. or whatever. So we're going to scroll down a little bit more. And the first plant that you see is the dandelion, actually. So here's a picture, and all of them sadly are in black and white. And this is the dandelion. So what it's saying is you can use it for all of these different things. And if you were to scroll up, you would see what all those things are about. And then it talks about where you can find them, how common they are, what you can do with them. So it says, oh, they're edible. And it also talks about what you can use them with. So you can mix them with other greens or put them in heavy sugar. So this is an awesome resource. There's a whole bunch of different plants in here. This is a great resource, and again, I will post this link in the description, and you can come to this resource whenever you feel like it, and it's completely free. Alright, so I'm going to put 2 pictures up on the screen now, and I want you to figure out which one you think is a dandelion. So, can you tell the difference between these two? One of the pictures, like I said, is a dandelion, and the other one is a plant called cat's ear. Now, both of these are actually edible. However, you do need to make sure you're correctly identifying plants before you ever consider eating them. So, what are some plants that you may think are a problem? Or perhaps you might have heard been called a weed in your lawn or garden. Perhaps you've seen the dandelions, and they generally grow all over the place wherever it's sunny. And so instead of seeing these as a weed, perhaps you could see them as a plant that you can actually harvest, because these plants are both edible when cooked and when raw. So you can actually eat them in a salad. Or maybe you've seen this plant hiding along the edge of your house, or maybe around a creek somewhere. These are called stinging nettle, and you may have noticed, if you've ever tried to pull them out of the ground, that they are covered in tiny needle-like protrusions. However, once you've learned to don some gloves and you pull them out of the ground, throw them in a pot full of water and boil them, you'll realize that they're actually completely harmless once they've been cooked, and they make a really good tea. Or maybe you've seen these little plants. They love to grow in the cracks of your sidewalks, and a lot of people see them as common weeds, but these little guys are really tasty. So these weeds, or problem plants, as a lot of people see them, may actually make a tasty meal. And there are lots of edible weeds in your own yard. Now, how are you going to prepare these plants once you actually have them? Well, the main thing that you're going to think about is, how can you eat them? So some plants have to actually be cooked. Some plants can be eaten whole and raw. For some plants, you can only eat the roots, like potato plants. Some plants, you can only eat the flowers. Books on foraging and preparing wild edibles can be found in any library, or you can find some online. So you should be asking your parents to start helping you with this, because this is something that, one, is way more fun if you have other people involved, but can also teach them a completely new skill while you're at it. Alright, so let's go back to our handy dandy guidelines. And let's remember that down at the bottom, there is this 10th guideline that says, I took notes and observations in my wild foraging journal. So why do you think it might be important to have a journal of your own? Well, having a journal means that you can take down some important information every time that you go and forage. And so the information that you mark down is really up to you, but there are a few things that almost every forager will have in their journal. So can you think of any of those things that you might put down in your journal? So some things that you might want to mark down about the foraging experience, things like the date, the time of year. Perhaps you'll want information about the habitat that you found the plant in, if you found it in your backyard or at Lake Emily County Park. You also might want to have information about what kind of plant it is, and you also will want to have information like what the weather was like that day. So this is an example of what a foraging journal might look like. I'm using a Word document, but generally you'll have a notebook or something that you've put together yourself to make it really your own. But this is what one of the entries might look like. So at the top you'd have foraging journal, or you'd have my foraging journal, 2020 or something like that. And then you'd have a bunch of columns. So again, those columns are going to be whatever you decide. So I have the date, the species or the type of plant, their habitat, so what's going on in the area around them, the location where I found this plant, the weather of the day, what's going on with the weather, was it raining, were they out on a sunny day, etc. And then I love to have a picture of the plant. Even if I didn't take a picture of the plant itself there, sometimes I'll go back if I forgot to take a picture and just find one that represents the plants that I found. And so that's what my journal will look like. So I have the date is May 4th, 2020. It's a plantain, Plantago major. It was in a disturbed area along a roadside. There was sandy soil and pine trees nearby. I found it at Lake Emily County Park on the south side along the road. And the weather was mostly sunny. It was 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And then here you can see all of the key features of the plant. And so that's what the journal would look like. Foraging for wild edibles is something that has been passed down from our hunter-gatherer ancestors, but today is still practiced commonly. It's a skill that anyone can learn, and as long as you're following those guidelines that we talked about before, can be a lot of fun and safe. So I encourage you to go out, make yourself a journal, and start adding things to your entry. Once you've filled out your first entry for the first plant that you have tried to identify, you'll feel a sense of accomplishment. And I would love it if you post in the comments below what you added to that journal entry and what plant you tried to identify. Again, you can use a plant identification book if you have one available to you, or there are a lot of different online resources like the one that I showed you today, and I encourage you to try and use those and see how it goes for you. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below and I'll try to answer them. Otherwise, I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye!